Thank you for taking time to watch the 39th Street Church of Christ Daily Devotional. The devotional today is I Like Fire, presented by Jack Williams.
I've got a confession to make. I like fire. Well, not big fires. I like fire pits. I like campfires. You know, it's just something to hear the crackling and to see it and to feel the warmth of it. But I like a different kind of fire too. You know, I guess in one sense I'm a pyromaniac. You know, I looked that up and it said that it's a person who has an uncontrollable desire to ignite fires. Well, I hope that's me. Well, I don't really feel bad about it because the Bible talks about people like that. Probably the most well known is Jeremiah. Over in the book of Jeremiah in the 20th chapter, you find that Jeremiah kind of loved the fire. He had been facing struggles and trials. People had rejected everything he'd done and said, and he said, I'm not going to speak anymore in his name. But then he pointed out in Jeremiah 20 and verse 9 that the word was in his bones as a burning fire. And he said, I could not contain. Well, what do you want to do? He said, I can't help but use that fire starter God gave me, the word. You see, that's the pyromaniac that God desires we be. We need to have that just uncontrollable impulse to start a fire. And God's given us the word as the fire starter. Jeremiah had that burning desire, that fire in his bones, and he said, I'm going to give it to others. And how much we realize the world needs that. You know, you look at a fire and you can see the core of the fire and the heat that is there. And those things that are on the outskirts, they begin to die away. Well, Jeremiah had seen his people die away. Tears ran down for the slain. And he wanted to get them back to the fire that was in him. You know, the Bible speaks of many others in the same way. You find, for example, in the book of Acts, the 4th chapter, one of the incidents in which children of God were told, don't speak anymore in his name. But Peter and John said, we can't help but speak the things we've seen and heard. Sound familiar? Jeremiah, you know, he was facing struggle. He said, I can't help it. I've got the burning fire in my bones. Peter and John, we can't help it. That same fire, the Word of God, just had to go out. What about the Apostle Paul? Pretty well-known pyromaniac, I guess. Romans 1 and verse 15, he said, as much as in me is, I'm ready to preach the gospel. I mean, that ought to be me and you, shouldn't it? And remember what he told Timothy? Timothy, he was facing, no doubt, a lot of struggles and trials and knew that his mentor, the Apostle Paul, was going to die. But Paul told him in 2 Timothy 4, he said, you preach the word. You be instant in season, out of season. You reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. In other words, you've got to set that fire forth. You've got to have that joy, that desire, that uncontrollable desire to set forth and set that fire upon others. He said the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but they'll heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. In other words, there are the false fires. You ever seen those make-believe fires? A little light and some cloth flowing up and said, oh, that's so pretty. Well, no, it's not. Not if you've seen the real. There are a lot of false teachers out there, and if we don't have that uncontrollable desire to start the fire that God desires in the hearts of all mankind, they'll fall for the fake stuff. We have the real. You know, we look at the world and Whenever I think about starting a fire and the needs out there, I think about my father and how many times he told me, he said, son, I'm going to set a fire under your tail. Well, I no doubt needed it. But what about this world? It's in darkness. They need the light of God's fire, of that word that can help us to go forth. You see, I want to be a pyromaniac in the sense that I use God's fire starter. And I take that word and I take it to a world that is cold and indifferent. I want them to be on fire, but it's got to start with me. You know, maybe I need to, like the psalmist, take that word and hide it in my heart that I might not sin against him, as he said in Psalm 119, verse 11. You think Jeremiah had done that? That word was in his heart. The burning fire in his bones he couldn't contain. We need to be that way. Let's start with self. Let's study the word, start that fire, but don't keep it to ourselves. Lots of people on the fringe that need to be heated up. They need the fire set under them. And we can do that. Let's all have that fire and set it forth. Let's begin that today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this short devotional. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll be notified of other devotionals that will be forthcoming. Also, we encourage you to join us online live as we stream our services at each service time. More information can be found on our website at the link below. Thank you.